Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about cameras, but specifically for being a musician. One of the things that I'm always looking for is a camera to help me record at a gig so that I can get a good quality playback audio-wise, but also video-wise. These are things that I put on YouTube, on my website, when I'm sending off to a festival, for example, if I want to perform there, and I'm looking for something that will really fit the bill and it'll look like it is well done, well put together, and it's easy to use. And the camera I'm going to be talking about today is this Canon Powershot V1. Now, the Powershot V1 is very, very small. You can see it fits in my hand really well, and it is super duper light. Now, there are some check boxes that I'm looking for as a musician when I'm looking for a camera. One, I'm looking for decent audio. I want it to sound good. I don't want it to be kind of grainy and terrible. Two, I want the video quality to be good, and I'd like it to be able to work in many different situations. Three, I'd like it to be easy to use. I want to be able to just kind of throw it up on a countertop if I don't have a tripod with me. I want to be able to hand it to an audience member to walk around and film with, and all sorts of things like that. And then four, I want it to be compatible with things. I want it to be a tool that I can use rather than just being something that I use once in a while when I have the extra 6 hours to set up. So let's kind of go through the functionality of this Canon Powershot and see if it really fits the bill. Now, for those of you who are impatient, I'm going to tell you right away that I think this is a really fantastic camera. It's got some caveats that we'll cover here, but as a musician, as a content creator, and as a YouTuber, this thing really is a powerful tool, and I'm really excited to start making use of it more. To begin with, as I showed you before, it's quite small. It really does fit in the palm of my hand, and you can see I can put it right inside of both of my hands quite easily. If I wanted to, I could stick it in my pocket. It's really small enough for stuff like that, which makes it completely handy. I can toss it in my bag, and there it is. It does have replaceable batteries, so you can grab 2 or 3 batteries if you're doing a long, say, tour, or if you're doing a longer performance and you want to swap them out. The battery life on this is not perfect because it'll only shoot for about an hour, but it does have active cooling. You can see these little vent fans right here, and that means that it'll actually be able to record semi-infinitely. So if you have a 2 or 3 hour gig, there's no worries about throwing it up there and kind of not touching it all night long. It's also able to be powered via USB through a phone charger. So if you want to set it up there and really get continuous shooting, it's really easy to set up and you don't need a whole lot of expensive extra gear. Shame on Canon, unfortunately. They sell a power adapter for it that's $250 that is literally just a cell phone charger brick. So if you have a good quality cell phone charger brick or a laptop charger brick, you can totally power this camera and you don't really need that extra accessory. Now, speaking of the battery, there is one caveat to this camera. You can see I have a tripod plate on the bottom, but unfortunately, because of the way they designed it, it obscures the battery door. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take the plate off to get to the battery door, which is really kind of a pain. I think it's something that Canon could have overcome, but I'm sure there was some sort of space concern when they were designing the camera. But once I get the plate off, you can see the battery door pops open and the battery comes out like that. And this is also where the memory card slots in. And it does take standard memory cards, and they work pretty darn well. I have an 128 gig card in there that works just fine, and so you shouldn't have any problem finding cards if you're out on the road, which is also handy. So let's talk functionality of this camera. Now, one of the edicts was it needed to look good. And let me tell you, the video coming out of this camera does look fantastic. Now, right now, I'm filming with my Panasonic GH7, but I'm going to do a little side-by-side comparison. The GH7 is like 4 times the price of this camera, depending on what kind of deal you get on it. And So you're definitely going to see an image quality improvement with that sensor over this one. However, this one does have approximately the same micro four thirds sensor size. It's not quite the same, but it is a really good sensor with really great light reproduction and great color science. This camera has a built-in lens, you can see, and it retracts when you turn it on and off. It turns on and off really fast, and so if you're in a hurry, bam, it's ready to go almost immediately. The camera does have a flip-out screen, which is awful nice, so you can actually film yourself both vertically and horizontally, and you can see what you're doing because there's the screen. One of the great features of this camera is you can shoot vertically, sort of blogger style. Now, one of my small kind of nitpicks is when the screen flips out, it doesn't go all the way to a 90. So you can see when I'm looking up at my screen, it sort of looks like I'm looking past the lens. So you sort of have to get used to staring down the barrel of the lens if you really want to make it look like you're looking at the camera itself. So unlike an iPhone, for example, where you're really looking at the camera lens, you sort of have to train yourself on this. But it is nice that right out of the camera, these vertical videos are formatted for vertical, so when you take them into your editing software, they're right ready to go. This movable screen is also fantastic because that means that when I'm setting it up to do a talking head video like you're seeing now, I can actually see myself and I can compose my shot. That's one of my big complaints about filming with my iPhone. It's almost impossible to use the higher quality rear camera if you're trying to shoot yourself because it's just so hard to compose the shot. Whereas with this system, you can visually see what it is and you don't need external monitors or anything else. You just flip the screen around and you're ready to go. Again, it's a little bit of a pain that when the screen flips out, it doesn't come all the way out to a 90, but that's a real minor nitpick. Nothing that really will stand in your way when you're trying to use this as a tool. It does have lots of video modes. You can shoot in 4K 30 and 4K 60, but in 4K 60 you are going to get a crop factor, so it's going to zoom in 1.5. Now, I'm not here to do a tech spec video, so I'm not going to waste your time with a bunch of the other things, but suffice it to say, I can get as good a quality video out of this as I can from my GH7 for sort of normal things like this. Obviously, the GH7 has a lot more features, but that's not really what I want this for. The camera itself weighs only about a pound, maybe, so it's really, really handy. And so if you do have a small, lightweight tripod like to set on your desk, it'll easily hold this up. It does have a mounting shoe on the top, but this is not a traditional hot shoe, meaning regular flashes and stuff, they don't have the sensor points. There is an adapter you can buy, however, if you do need to use a hot shoe for photos, but I don't really take photos all that often at gigs, so it's not really something I worry about. It will hold up and use external mics like this Joby here, and they just slide right in the slot. And then on this side of the camera, there's both a mic port and a headphone port. So you can plug in the external mic really easily, as well as you can monitor it directly from the camera, which is a really great touch because let me tell you, on many of these cameras, the built-in mics are pretty subpar, and if you can't monitor it, you have no idea what's going on in terms of level-wise. One of the kind of things that is my pet peeve is the auto gain settings on almost all of these cameras, including this one, are not great, and they typically add either noise or any other thing because they're putting in too much gain. Auto record mode audio, checking for noise, auto record mode. Now, the built-in microphone on the top of this camera is a great stereo microphone, and it actually sounds pretty darn good. I'll do an audio comparison of that at the end of the video so you can check it out. But in all seriousness, it sounds fantastic for an on-camera microphone. It's way better than the on-camera microphone built into my GH7, even though the GH7 is a whole lot more money. I sort of have to use an external microphone when I use the GH7 if I want to not record the audio separately. But on this camera, you can really get away with it. I'm actually very impressed with the sound of it talking head-wise. So here's a sound sample of the built-in microphone on the Canon Powershot V1. I have it set to manual gain so it doesn't add any extra noise, but I think it sounds pretty darn fantastic. Now here is my external Joby stereo microphone plugged directly into the Canon Powershot V1. As you can tell, it's a little bit better audio, but not a ton, so you can totally get away with using this without an external microphone if you'd like to. Here's a comparison of the Powershot V1, but coming through my studio condenser mic plugged directly into my audio interface. Another couple great features about the Powershot V1 that really make it handy as a musician is this incredibly versatile lens. Now, a lot of you maybe don't think about this, but one of the aspects that's really important on a lens is to have it what we call fast enough, meaning it can take enough light in to be useful in a low light situation, because let's face it, in almost every performance venue, it's a low light situation. And this one has a minimum f of 2.8 when it's at its widest angle, which is not bad realistically. Most professional lenses are somewhere between 2.8 and 3 if you're kind of a standard lens. Really high quality, couple $1,000 lenses might get down into the 1.8 category, but you're gonna have to pay for that. Now, I will admit when you zoom all the way in, it goes out to about 4.5, but that's still pretty good. If you look at the standard kit lenses that Canon makes for its mirrorless cameras, you'll see that most of them start at 4 and go much, much higher. So this is actually a pretty fast lens when you think about the kind of money you're spending on this camera. As you can see here in this video example, at a pretty normal distance, I can get a really nice shot that's composed really well. And by comparison, I'm only about 10 inches from my face here, which is really easy to hold, and it's a much better way for getting less shaky video because I'm not holding my arm at its full extent. So now that I've sung the versatile praises of this, let's go ahead and see how it sounds in a musical context. So in this situation, I'm going to film myself with both the Powershot V1, my Canon GH7. I'm going to record the audio with the external mic and preamp on my GH7, as well as the built-in mic on the Canon, just for comparison, and then I'll switch it up and I'll show you what the built-in microphone on the GH7 and the external mic plugged directly into the Canon sounds like. The whole thing I've also been recording with my Shure large diaphragm condenser, so you'll kind of get a baseline of what the audio could sound like if you were in a studio and you had the ability to set up good quality mics with an interface, but it's nice to know that we can do it without that. So for the remainder of this video, I'm actually going to film the whole thing on the Powershot V1. I think the image quality is quite comparable to my big professional camera here, and genuinely speaking, the convenience factor is just a little bit too good. When you look at the size of this thing, and this is a small lens, this is my prime lens, which is one of the smallest and lightest you can get for this camera, but you can see to get good audio, I strap on an SM81 on the top using my XLR adapter with a cord, plus the entire camera. And this whole thing is almost more than you want to hold up with one hand. Now, the image quality is fantastic, the flexibility is amazing, and you could do, heck, almost a whole feature film with this thing. But in terms of convenience, throwing it in your bag on the way to a gig, this is kind of a non-starter. Again, every piece of this is about the same price as the camera that I'm filming on right now. The microphone, same price. The lens, it's about $400. The XLR adapter is about $300. And then the camera body itself is about $2,000 when on sale. And so this is quite an investment if all you're intending to do is create a little bit of social media content as well as just some overall nice looking videos. So to wrap it up, I think the most important thing about the V1 is it is a real utilitarian camera. The image quality is definitely good enough to do videos for both talking head, vlogging, concert footage. It has a good enough internal microphone that you don't have to bring the external, but the external mic does help. Now, my little Joby mic here is not a real popular one, but it does work pretty darn well, and so it ups the sound quality just a little bit. If nothing else, it makes it that much more directional. But again, I could just throw this up on a music stand or on the counter in the club, and I could take some pretty decent footage. I actually really like the way the autofocus works. I think it's really good. And when I hold the camera up in front of my face, you can see it goes to the Panasonic camera really quickly and easily. But then when I get it out of the way, it grabs onto my eye very quickly. And so in terms of just set it and forget it photography, this thing works really well. Now, I don't do a lot with still images, but it does take really great still photos. So again, if I was at a gig and I wanted to capture some quick photos or at a recording session, it does a great job, and it means I don't have to pull out my cell phone every single time. Now, the cell phone camera is pretty darn awesome, but in reality, I think this thing does a much better job, and it's purpose-built for this. The street price on these is somewhere between $800 and $850 right now, but I will say I got mine for significantly less, and so if you shop around, you're going to find it on sale, and you're going to be able to get it for the kind of money that really makes this an awesome tool. Between all the streaming options, the connectivity, the good image quality, and the good sound quality, this is a really handy tool to have in your bag. Also, if you like to use aftermarket batteries, I got 2 batteries and a charger for about $28. Now, they may not last quite as long as the Canon batteries, but for $28 you could own 12 of them and it could really go. And again, remember, you can run this camera off of your cell phone charger brick. So as long as you have a good quality brick and a good quality cord, you're set to go for essentially endless recording. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, this is a video for us musicians out there looking for a tool to help us get both video, pictures, and audio of our gigs without having to bring an entire sound system and a giant professional filming rig. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. If you have a camera that fits these needs, please throw it down there in the comments so we can all compare. Like I said, I found this one and I think it's pretty darn fantastic, but you might have one that you like just as well. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you the next time.